Week 134 is here, and if you are new here, this is 134 weeks. Ground zero was March of 2020, and now we're 134 weeks past that. You are watching the only person who has been tracking this market week over week for 134 weeks in a row, and not just the market, because anybody can regurgitate Toronto Real Estate Board statistics as their own, but I've done custom searches for the specific urban communities and surrounding areas that our clients are mainly transacting in. And I've taken the numbers from those specific communities and put them out there for you all to enjoy. So week 134, and I'm sure if you've been watching the news or exposed to other realtors marketing, you're hearing a lot of information about Alberta, more specifically pre-construction condo developments in Calgary, and whether those are a good investment or not. So why are we hearing so much about that right now? Well, the provincial government, the Alberta government, has a pretty strong campaign going targeted at Torontonians. I'm sure they have the same thing going on in other major cities throughout the country as well, with the promise of a much lower cost of living and job opportunities abound. So it's really great to see a place like Calgary turning into something more than a one-trick pony. You know, previously, if oil was doing bad, Calgary was doing bad. But right now, Calgary is turning into a bit of a tech hub, finance, and you've got pre-construction development happening. The real estate community is really strong in Calgary right now. I'm not quite sure about the rest of the province. I'm not familiar with it, but would you move to Calgary? I mean, personally, no, I wouldn't, because I've got a well-established business here in Toronto with my friends and my family here. But imagine, if you are a 20-something or 30-something individual who has, who you're thinking you missed the boat on Toronto real estate, even with some of the depressed prices of today still being unaffordable for you. I don't know. I'd consider a purchase outside of Toronto right now. I mean, that is the kind of outside-of-the-box thinking excuse me, that will get you that home in Toronto eventually. But you have to start somewhere. So where do you start? Personally, I've shared this story before. After a series of just unfortunate events, I had to start my real estate portfolio again in 2016. So at that time, in 2017, at that time, I really couldn't get into the market the way it was here in Toronto. So I decided to make a purchase wherever I could just to start that equity machine working for me. And in my case, I was able to find a rundown cottage property in Parry Sound, about 2.5 hours away from here, and, renovated it with a very small budget, essentially turning a $25,000 initial investment into a $2.1 million asset that I am standing in today. So I'll make a separate video about how I turned $25,000 into $2.1 million another time. But this is the kind of outside the box thinking that a lot of Canadians and Torontonians and people in other major cities who, which are generally unaffordable, you need to be adopting this type of thinking. Where can you get into a real estate asset that could potentially generate some short-term income for you, but allow some equity growth so you can take that money and do what you really want to in the city that you actually want to do it in? And that might be Calgary. There are a number of our clients who have decided to make investments in Calgary pre-construction developments. We're working very closely with a developer out there now, so you're going to see some more talk from us about Calgary developments coming up over the next couple of months. But it's a really strong opportunity for people that just cannot afford Toronto to. And remember, you don't have to live where you own. There are a number of investors who rent their principal residence but own all of these other investment properties. And that could also be you taking a $400,000 investment, which requires a 5 to 10% down payment in Calgary right now, with a rental guarantee, could be giving you anywhere from 7 to 12% annually with that guarantee, and allowing some time for the market to ride out whatever is happening now, knowing that the rental market is really, really strong, so the income should be there for you. Anyway, it's an opportunity to consider. Message me and we'll talk about Calgary a little bit more, but that's not really the main point of this post. Let's get into the market report a little bit. So putting moving to Alberta aside, obviously, I think investing there is a pretty smart decision right now. I think investing anywhere is always a smart decision, but considering there's some fairly dark times ahead for our economy as we're into this recession for the next 12 to 18 months. Who knows how much longer we'll be there, but it's good to keep some cash aside and not go completely all in on purchases. But I wanted to really talk about what's happening with supply more specifically. So houses are gaining in supply again after a pullback last week. So it's really back and forth with houses. If we look at this time last year, and I think I have my this time last year blog up over here. Bringing this one up real quick, and we'll do a side by side in a moment, but like we were singing a very different tune this time last year, just 82 weeks out of COVID. We had pre-construction stuff that was flying off the shelf. There was absolutely everything flying off the shelf downtown. Condos at 1,700 per square foot, just selling like mad. And honestly, 8 Elm was just launched, that CU Limu promoted product at Yonge and Elm Street by Reserve Properties. That condo is currently selling at $1,880 a foot in some cases. So the demand is still there for that. But this is last year. And I wanted to kind of talk about this. So we're at 480 units last year versus 525 units this year. So altogether, we have more listings now, but only about 40 units. The big story here is the number of sales that we had last year for houses, which was 94 in the past week, and for condos, which is 212 in the last week. You'll notice that that is really the big story. To have a September, let's get back over here for a second. To have a September where we have fewer sales than we did in August is a big problem for houses. It's just showing that buyer sentiment continues to decline, especially as we approach another interest rate increase. So where are we right now in terms of how things are moving? I think condos right now are showing a much better performance than houses with 90 firm sales. Remember, normally we have about 212 like we saw last year at this time, only 90 condo sales, but it's the first time we've seen 90 condo sales happen in a week in a while. So this is the most sales activity in about 3 or 4 months that we've seen for condos. But for houses, we've been sticking around this number, lower, not higher than 48 sales in a week, where we normally, like I showed you in the previous slide, had just under 100, which could go up to about 120 normally. So really, right now, there could be a huge problem if we have more listings come to market, because there aren't enough buyers to absorb a massive influx of new listings, especially for houses right now. So really going to drive home that message that if you don't need to be on the market, please don't be on the market right now. There's a very small group of people who should be on the market at the moment. Right now is a great opportunity for people that need to upsize. If you're going from a, say, $800,000 or $900,000 condo into a $1.5 to $2 million house, and your condo might be down about 10% from the peak, so you're going to leave maybe $80,000 to $90,000 on the table if you're going to sell your condo. But if you're making a purchase of that depressed value asset of 1.5 to $2 million, that would normally cost you a lot more than that in the winter market or in an up market. The savings on the buy, 10% of that bigger number is a lot more than 10% of the smaller number, and that's not any complicated math. So if you're making a move up right now, there could be a good opportunity for you to get into a house and save some money there. So do consider that if you are looking for a move up. Now is a great time. You're going to sell low, you're going to buy low, but the difference is more than enough to make it worthwhile. Whereas in a market that's improving, where all these FOMO buyers came into play, you're seeing people that are selling high and buying high. Well, you're getting a whole bunch of money on a smaller asset and giving it back on a bigger asset. The delta there is very different. So move up buyers have a decent opportunity right now to make some interesting moves and save a bunch of money at the same time. The second opportunity exists for people that are having trouble getting into the market because their approval stops at 999,999. Like you can't go over $1 million because of, you don't have the 20% down payment that's required, etc. So right now, even though that, let's say $950,000 house today would have cost you up to 1.2, whoopsies, would have cost you up to 1.2 back in the winter, you're still paying the same to carry that house because of the interest rate increase right now. However, instead of coming up with the $200,000 or so you needed to purchase that home in the winter because you had to achieve 20% because it's more than $1 million, you could now get away with a smaller down payment that's in the 5 figures versus the 6 figures. So it's making this property more accessible to you, even though it costs the same to carry it every single month. So does it make sense for you to be a buyer right now? Sure, if that type of situation is appealing to you. But remember, we are heading into a pretty serious economic situation. A recession is nothing to joke around about. We don't know how secure jobs are going to be going forward. So it's very important that you leave some money in the tank and not max out on your approval. If you're approved for $1.5 million, consider a purchase of 1.2. Something to leave some room there in case things don't turn out the way you hoped the rest of the year turns out. So and especially if you're looking for something unique, waiting around for prices to drop, but you're looking for something extremely specific is not really the best use of your time because, well, there's a reason you're looking for that specific thing. Like it's got X, it's got Y, it's got Z. It has a whole bunch of things that you have on your must-have list, and there aren't too many other homes like that. If you're looking for something super specific, then none of this rate stuff really matters to you. You just need to get that thing that you're looking for because there's a very good chance that waiting, although prices might be down in a couple of months, that particular product type may not be available to you because it's so specific. So there are many different types of people that should be in the market right now and many that shouldn't be in the market right now, but we need to have more of a one-on-one to discuss this. But I wanted to also show you one thing. There is this property here, that 6 Hancock Crescent, Toronto, Wexford area, Scarborough, really booming area, doing a lot of great things. How many offers would you say this property got? And it sold for 1.02. This has been an original property in the same owner's hands since the 50s, needs complete gut, needs to be, rebuilt or whatever it is. This bungalow here, fully detached bungalow, had 22 offers. 22 offers. 22. And you have a lot of real estate agents out there being like, look, the market's still doing well. We got 22 offers on this thing. Let me just show you something, okay? Anything that's worth $1 million that's listed at $600,000 is going to generate a ton of interest. So this leads me to my next point of listing strategy. If you are a seller right now, pricing is probably the most important, more important than it's ever been. If you are taking a property to market and you are going to overprice it with the hopes that you're going to leave some room to negotiate, you may not end up in the best scenario if that's what you're planning on doing, because there are too many more reasonably priced options for buyers to choose from for them to waste the time to try and negotiate with you. So either you're going to list at a very comfortable price you're happy to accept, that's in line with comparables, not leaving much room for negotiation, just it is what it is, or you're going to do a stupid underlist, just like that $629,000 property that traded for $1,020,000 with 22 offers. Doing slightly under the price you want is no longer working. So those are the only two options you have. You have to reasonably price it in line, if not a hair less than the previous comparable, or insanely low, so you generate a whole bunch of people that don't know what they're doing, that think they can get deals to help you leverage that price up to where you need to be. So those are really the two options. Listing at $999 and getting like 1.1, 1.2, it's not going to work out for you like it did before. But if you're looking for those, 1.2, 1.1, whatever it is, you got to come to market at like $799. It's super low, ridiculous low. Get a whole bunch of offers to the table. Look, it wastes a bunch of time, but I care, but there are a lot of people out there that are represented by agents that don't know what they're doing. So somehow believing you have a chance at getting this house for a deal because of the way the market is. So it's really important to work with a professional who knows the market, but at the same time, working with a professional who is that neighborhood expert is a little overrated right now. I'm not going to lie. There is so much information available out there and access to so many different areas, whether it's like community Facebook groups or whether it's, other local professionals or just, there's the House Sigma app, so many different things that people have access to that can turn them into a neighborhood expert pretty damn quickly. So the only thing you need to be looking for in your agent right now is not, do they have a stronghold on the neighborhood? Because, saying that you might have a buyer for a property already, or, having an exclusive listing that you might not know about, those things don't hold much value anymore that the typical neighborhood expert would be saying. So you need to work with a professional that seriously values continuing education, that has great relationships with the broker community in general, that could help you really get what you want at a price that you are all happy with. And speaking of prices, there's a new thing called, what's it called? FOOP. Instead of FOMO, it's FOOP, fear of overpaying. I read this the other day. We talked about it in our team meeting today. I think everybody always has a fear of overpaying. Nobody wants to overpay. What really is an overpayment, really? I mean, as long as the bank appraises the property, you can afford the payments. Let's roll. Trying to say that you overpaid by like 10 or 20 grand on a $1.5 million asset doesn't really make much sense to me in that scenario. So don't worry about overpaying as long as you're led by somebody who knows what they're doing and is familiar with the market and the property types that you're trying to buy. Overpaying is not a thing for the general buyer community who is led by a strong agent or a strong team. It's really not a thing you see that often. The only time I see overpaying or even underselling as a listing agent are with agents that are either part-time or they don't know what they're doing. Not something I'd spend too much time worrying about if I'm you, especially any of our clients. We take care of them pretty well. Overpayment is not really a thing. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys this week. Let's talk about Calgary some more. I think that's an interesting opportunity there. The assignment market here in Toronto is still chugging along with, some even under original purchase price deals out there. I have a great one at the Stockyards development right now that's at the 2018 purchase price, $988 a foot. So there's just a lot of great deals out there for people that have the cojones to like actually go and spend some money on these properties right now, knowing that long term you'll be just fine. So thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe. I'd love for you to subscribe and watch out for some more videos. We got some cool stuff coming. I will see y'all next week.